Hello, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Tomi Mitchell from the Mental Health and Wellness Show. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Beatriz Olson. She is a board certified endocrinologist, integrative medicine expert, and a physician well-being advocate with over 30 years of helping women navigate hormonal and metabolic health. A Cuban immigrant and former NIH and Yale faculty member, she bridges cutting edge science with holistic mind body healing. Dr. Olson is the author of best-selling book Mind Body Secrets, a medical doctor's spiritual and scientific guide to wellness, and she is the founder of integrativebeing.org, where she offers courses and coaching to transform both patient outcomes and physician resilience. Through her programs like Empower Her and her work with AMWA, she empowers doctors to reclaim agency, purpose, and joy. On this podcast, she'll be sharing how mind and body medicine can reduce burnout, challenge outdated norms, and build a more compassionate, sustainable healthcare system. With no further ado, welcome to the show, Dr. Olson.
Thank you, Dr. Tommy. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm happy to see a kindred spirit, a woman who has definitely gone through life, experienced a lot, but ultimately you triumphed and you didn't let all of that stuff tear you down. You came out strong. And I love that.
We got to
Yeah,
be queens here.
definitely. There's many parts to our histories that are very similar, and the impacts of those things in our lives, it's almost like textbook classic for those of us who've gone outside of the traditional textbook, traditional learning modules that we were taught when we were in school. Like we realize how much life has evolved, how we need to be holistic, how we need to look at the root cause. But before we get into all that juicy stuff, I would love for you to share with our listeners a little bit about you, just to get a picture of your heart so they get to understand you as you share today.
Well, there's so many aspects of the heart and secrets, but I believe that being vulnerable and saying your truth is and telling our stories is the way to connect with others and for each other to heal.
Yes.
And my journey, I think in life we develop compassion and greater humanity when we go through our own journeys because we all have difficulties, we all have our traumas. And it's when we overcome those things that we recognize that we share in the human condition. We're all the same, we're all energetically connected, and there's no duality. But that as a concept grows as we mature in wisdom. This is not something that immediately we get, although children may have that sense early on in life. So I'm a Cuban immigrant, and I was born in Cuba. My parents suffered through separation of communism. I came into America as a political refugee from Spain as a teenager. And within 2 to 3 months of having the American diet, I became an obese teenager. And
Mm.
I think this was a combination of the fact that I had never had all of these processed and ultra processed and sugared foods. I was always a whole foods girl
Mm.
wherever I was because there were no processed foods. Also, my parents wouldn't let me out because they thought something bad would happen to me. So I became inactive. I was a stressed out kid to begin with. And all of those factors, and the fact that in puberty, I'm an endocrinologist.
Yeah.
So in puberty, there's a shift of the hormonal balance, and in women in particular, to develop thighs, hips, butts, and breasts.
Mm.
And at that time, that was happening with me while all of this was happening. And I became an obese young woman who was really abused at multiple levels and even criticized by my own family, who asked me to stop eating and shamed me for eating my birthday cake on my birthday because I was fat. I swore that I was going to develop ways of treating others differently. I
Yeah.
was going to help women in my position, and I was going to become a scientist and a doctor to change the world and to give it heart because people had not heart towards me.
Wow, that's a lot for a young mind to process. It also shows the greatness of your mind and the true love that you have for humanity. You moved from Spain as a political refugee to America, and the food is garbage. I agree. And it's process. We sugarcoat the sugar. Like it's not even just sugar coated. It is sugar coated sugar. And it's normalized. And then you're right. When your parents have their own fears of your safety, your caregivers, and because of their experience and what they see around them, it wasn't a very pretty time, and it still isn't. They want to protect you, and that is keeping you indoors, but then you're missing critical things like running outside, playing, you know, activity, movement. And then you add the internal stressors, the trauma, which is something we don't talk about when it comes to obesity. A lot of individuals who have obesity, there was at some point, if there's not dealt with, underlying trauma, right? So you were kind of like textbook perfect case. Immigrant coming at the perfect time where all the hormones are going, yeek, you know, you're the expert on this. You can explain more than yeek. You know what I mean? But I hear you because that was me too. I was the big girl who was going through puberty earlier than my peers, and I was the biggest girl in the class, and experienced shaming for eating food. It was hurtful.
One of the things that happens when we are criticized early on,
Yeah.
because we are young and we can't quite integrate that into the intellectual part of our brains, okay? Because
Mm.
this is happening to us. We're not mature enough to do this. So we put it in a place of a younger part of ourselves is going to manage this situation.
Mm.
I don't know how many of our viewers on this podcast, but I'm sure many of you are, especially with this mental health and wellness group of the internal family system. Dr. Schwartz's work on the internal family system and the fact that as we grow up, we have little different parts of ourselves that are different ages that are managing the situation. My inner younger part to manage the situation of being criticized made me more perfectionistic, which is a jail by itself. And we
Yes.
physicians deal with this a lot. So when you're in a space of perfectionism, nothing that you do can be right or conceivably perfect. And that can cause hiding of your personality. It can delay you coming out and showing the good things that you have to offer because they're never quite good enough. If people criticize you, you might think that they are actually right when they may not be right at all, but
Mm.
you'll buy it, okay?
Yeah.
And then you are always trying to fit into a space that is unrealistic. It's like a jail of non-possibility. And the cure to this is actually self-compassion and
Yes.
curiosity are the ways out of here, but it's we have to nurture the younger child that has been trying to protect us as adults and shows up and doesn't let us move forwards, and we have to talk to that inner child and thank it because it was taking care of us. But now we as adults are in charge, and we honor that inner part of us that had that suffering and created that early primitive system of protecting us, because now as wise women that we are able to take care of our inner family children. The children are not running the house alone anymore. There's an
Yes.
adult in the room
There's an adult
helping
in the
the
room.
situation. Yes. And,
Yes.
once we embrace that, it's very interesting because once you begin to give kisses to yourself,
Mm. Yeah.
all of a sudden you woo your spirit into its fullness. And I think it's very important that we all know that we're capable of doing that, especially in this conversation, these things that we experience, like depression, which I
Mm.
experienced where my first patient died and I wanted to leave medicine,
Yeah.
internal medicine. And that was my first experience being sent to a psychiatrist by the chief of medicine, who didn't disregard me, actually took me seriously. And I began to recognize then that depression or feelings when we're not in integrity with our being and
Mm.
we lose our joy are calls from the soul for introspection and exploration as to where is it that we are now? What is it that we believe in? In my case, I don't think that I knew that being a doctor meant helping people die.
Yeah,
This is
that's
some, oh, it's a shocking thing, but
yes.
this happened to me. Then later on at Yale, I taught the Healer's Art course with a number of colleagues where we learned and talked with our students about how to deal with death,
Mm.
something that I wish I would have known when I was younger. But I learned later and I was able to pass it on to other people. So I really believe that these are opportunities when we're sad, when we are depressed, if we're anxious. Well, if we're anxious, we're worried about the future. If we're depressed, we're dealing with the past.
Yes. Yeah.
And the question, and that's where I really feel very strongly as part of my mind body teaching, is mindful, being in the present moment.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the present moment, really here, like you and me are, Dr. Tomi, we're not thinking about what might happen to my
No.
kid because right now we're in the moment and
Yes.
we're not freaking out about, oh my God, I did this poorly in the past or it didn't come out just like I wanted it. And somehow now I'm bad, this kind of thing that takes you back and forth. And that's why increasingly being able to be within yourself, to breathe, to touch your heart and connect to your compassion and to your goodness opens up your heart and allows that brilliant organ that we have, our heart, to connect with the wisdom of our minds and our spirit. Through that, transformation happens. It's about transformation, okay?
100%. Because if it, I always talk about educating as a start, inspiring them, that's great. But transforming is actually taking that education inspiration into continuous action and change. And that's what we want. Otherwise, it's just a hashtag and a motto and a line that doesn't actually change your entire life.
Right. The trajectory is we have to envision it, number
Yeah.
one. And sometimes that's why we need coaches because
Yes.
sometimes we're stuck in a place that we can't see the next horizon.
Hmm.
And if you can't see the next horizon, then it may be hard for you to see the arc of the potential that we each have. We're here to do something amazing. We're the energy of the universe.
Yes.
Our energies are that of the Big Bang that came through the DNA of our parents, our multiple mothers and generations that have brought us here. And we're expressing that energy. And how to express that energy? We have to detach from mindsets that are not even ours.
Yes.
We have to explore silent messages, conversations, assumptions that
Yeah.
we make with our parents, partners, people we work with, and other things to move forwards to the next stage. And then we have to really be curious and courageful to
Yeah.
be able to embrace something that we're not comfortable with, the unknown,
Yes.
of the greatness of we can be. Some of us might be scared of what we might
I,
experience.
well, that
And go ahead.
no, I'm just saying that's powerful. You've mentioned so many amazing truths, and I want to, one thing that got my attention, many things did, but as physicians, one of our roles is to teach people how to die. And that really hit me. Like, I'm like, that is so true. And in my mind, I almost reframed it. I'd love to hear your experience. But as physicians, one of our roles is to teach people also how to live. Because when you live, now that's what does live mean? Then death you can embrace. It's easier to embrace.
Well, I think it takes effort to live
Yes.
and it takes effort to die well. And our goal is to have a long, healthy
Yes.
lifespan. Okay.
Yes.
That happens with curation.
Hmm.
And it happens with really tending to ourselves, our circadian rhythms, making sure that we have the right nutrition,
Yes.
not listen to what industry, food
Hmm.
industry, and other places are are saying to us that the cereal with sugar is good
Yeah.
for breakfast, and that or the donuts that are there are the what runs America. There's
Oh
so many
yeah.
crazy things.
Oh, I
But
know.
so we have to, number one, embrace all of these things. Remember, we're ancestral beings. The
Yeah.
world changed in the last 50 years, but our genetic material and way to respond is all biologically entrained by millions of years that have been there that created us to survive scarcity,
Mm.
okay? And to reproduce and have sex and to be safe. With us, this
Yes.
is our job. We're here to
Yes.
do this. So the world changes. We're greater consciousness. We desire more. And we need to recognize that even, with the weight gain that I had, it was my body is geared to eat.
Mhm.
We are ancestral beings that eat when food is in front of us. That's what our brains want to do all the time.
Yes.
And if we lose weight, it activates mechanisms that will slow us down from losing weight and will make the food even more delicious, and
Mm.
it'll smell more fabulous, and you want it right now.
Hmm.
Okay. But the thing is that the body's trying to defend, trying to maintain our defended weight, our highest weight, so that
Yes.
if we hit a famine, we're going to survive. Do you understand?
Oh,
Yeah, these are built in mechanisms.
just
So the
right.
only way to have a good, healthy lifespan in this world that we live in is to develop a conversation with our brains, to
Mm.
work with our minds, and to understand the biologic cravings that we have and use our greater mindfulness, our creativity. You can only do that when you're aligned, because when you're stressed out, you want that donut. Who's going to be talking to the brain when you're stressed out? That's the time you got to take a deep breath. And then you got to ask yourself, do I really need that donut?
Yeah,
No.
no. Yeah.
So that's the one part. The other part is about the dying. We want to die after having a healthy lifespan. We don't want to be sick until we die.
Exactly.
So, how do we do this dying correctly?
Mm. Of
And there's a number of components to this. So, we're all going to die.
course.
However, I am a longevity physician, and my job is to keep us younger for longer and healthier for longer, for as long as is possible until all systems fail. And to keep that mitochondria very, very happy. So we're full of energy and pep until it's time.
Mm.
So the thing is, how do you get people there? So you got to start thinking about things. What do you want your legacy to be? The people that live a long time are connected to others around them.
Well,
It's
there was that
life
Harvard
giving.
85-year plus longitudinal study, right? The biggest predictors of a long, happy life is quality of your relationships, not, money or fame or any of that stuff. It was quality of your relationships.
And how do you do that? In relationships, you give and take, you collaborate, you give love, you give what you can, and you get that back because it's like money. It's
Mm.
circulation of energy, you know? The more we give, the more we get. The more we love, the more we're loved. The more that we're open, the more that open, because it's a vibrational energy that we bring out. Again, this is possible and this can be nurtured in this way. But the end that the dying is not just the connections, not the legacy you leave, but rather how will you be remembered? You get
Yeah,
remembered because how you loved, what you gave,
yeah.
what you helped. Nobody's going to think of the 90 articles you published
Mm-mm.
in your CV. No one is going to care a bit. And as soon as you leave your work, only your family and good friends are going to be the ones that are going to be there for you. So I view nurturing those relationships. I think of my grandmother, who was so amazing to me and thought that I was the most important person in the world. Every time I think of her, it makes me think like I'm the most important person in my world. And I
That's
love
amazing.
thinking about her,
Mhm.
and she continues to live. She has this legacy in my heart that I've brought on to my kids. So, but the dying is different. How do we manage the dying? So, understanding the dying is coming to terms with your wholeness
Yeah.
and coming to terms with the relationships that you've had.
Yes.
And sometimes people don't leave for a long time because they don't have
Well,
that clarity.
yeah.
And then other people can leave after a final hug, a final touch. And a lot of people die when the family goes away. They
Yeah.
don't want to leave while they're there. Although it's such a gift to be with someone holding their hands and seeing that last wisp of
Yeah.
energy
Mm,
leave the body at the last minute. So there's this beauty to this, but how do we prepare? Of course, hospice makes people live longer.
hmm.
So understanding that even at the end of life, there's this quality and beauty of seeing the gifts that we gave, the life that we had, the abundance. Abundance is not about money.
Mm,
Abundance and prosperity are about how you surrounded your life with goodness,
yeah.
the pleasure that you gave yourself, the pleasure that you gave others, the joy that you felt in your heart and your mind, the impact you had for others. And even with this conversation that we're having today, if 10 people hear this and then they tell 10 others, we're
Mm,
ripples of effect
yeah.
every time we're out here.
Yes.
So this matters so much. And last, in terms of dying, we have to do this better. In America, people don't grieve well. They don't do things right. Things have to be improved.
Yes. Let's talk about improvement because you are a gem of like a wealth of information. You mentioned longevity. That got my attention. And especially when I think about the healers, like as physicians, we're supposed to be the healers, but
Mhm.
we're not the top when it comes to those things. We have alarming rates of, death by suicide and so many other things like early death, especially as emergency physicians, they're often leaving this world way too soon. We see so much casualty, so much pain, suffering, and then we talk about burnout, which has been normalized. I think definitely COVID helped, but I mean, it was officially recognized pre-COVID. And we talk about longevity. To those who are working in these high stressful jobs, who, from what I see, coming from a whole perspective, and it took me being in the trenches and feeling like dying and taking a step off work before I got to this point. But what would you like to say to them? Like, what are some key things that they can do now and things that they can work on, in the upcoming weeks or months to really balance their life, like really get that mind-body connection so they too can live a long, healthy life because it's missing. We are going way too soon and it's a tragedy.
Yes, so you're correct. We have 300 plus suicides per year of
Yeah.
physicians. A fifth of those who die per year are in their training. Male physicians are at a higher risk of suicide than the average population,
Mm,
and women physicians have a higher rate than male physicians in
hmm.
suicide. And also, 25 to 30% of us physicians self medicate.
Hmm.
So it's a complex situation. And part of it has been that there's a certain pride about who we are, that
Yeah.
almost we're not human. We're
Mm,
cultivated to value others' needs more than ourselves, as
mm,
you said. And I think that the key thing and what saved me, I'm going to tell you the journey. I put this in one of our little talks in LinkedIn,
yeah.
was about when I was in a really bad way. I was really messed up is I thought, okay, what is holding me to life?
Mm,
And I thought it was my little girls,
mm,
and that I had to bring them into what I value.
mm.
A lot of us don't even think about that we have emotional needs. Let's just bring it to the basics.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So, how about if you listen to this? What gives you joy? And what are you willing to not negotiate with?
Mm,
I don't negotiate with letting my children fail because I failed them.
mm,
That's a big driving force for me. So, what did I do? I made an appointment for my nails to be done.
mm.
My husband was serving the army for 6 months and wasn't with me. I was running a unit at the NIH. I have little girls, and I'm really in a bad way. And I went to have my nails done, and I had a massage in my hands.
Mm.
And I hadn't been touched in this way for so long.
Yeah.
And it awoke in me something of my body. It connected me to my body, having my body touched
Mm-hmm.
in just my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask you, the physician out there who's having difficulties, there's a few things to remember. And I actually told my daughter yesterday, who's emergency medicine physician starting her residency in a month, who had some fears about losing her life or jumping to the physician's life. I
Yeah.
want to tell you that you have a choice. We were cultivated to believe that we don't have choices and that we have to follow what other people tell us.
Mm.
I tell you not. You do not live somebody else's journey or their requirements. You have the power to choose how you live your life. You have the power to identify what you value. You have the power to create boundaries between what is not okay and what is okay.
Yes.
And you have to also, I don't like to say have to, I'd like to invite you because have to is too pushy. And as a coach, I would invite you. Really think about, and this helped me during my internship with my other interns, was to remember, don't forget that you went into medicine because you wanted to help. There was a love and a drive in your heart to help. And
Right.
even when it's very difficult, being in the moment in the work, being appreciative of the fact that you have so much knowledge to
Mm.
give and to share with others, the capacity that you make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's difficult. And lastly, connect with everyone around you. Tell your truth. As a group, make meetings once a week to talk about what's difficult, what was hard, when did you feel like crying.
Mm.
Create those spaces of nurture and vulnerability, because I think that when we're at the hardest times of our lives, we're so disembodied
Yeah.
and disconnected from our environment that suicide is possible.
Yeah.
Because suicide, I think, happens when we are fully, fully detached from our body and we can be pulled in different directions. I think that having one person in our lives that we can talk to, that we can feel that we are loved, even though we physicians are expected to be strong, to
Mm-hmm.
never fail,
Oh, yeah.
to never complain, to always be present. We're humans. We're humans above all, and we need to bring humanity back to our care as for each other as physicians. And when we come from that place of self-care from each other, then we have more abundance to help others.
100%.
And when it's crucial. So there's so many ways of doing this. And I think really talking about the journey, and there's many places where you can have conversations about this that are so important in the realm of physician well-being. And particularly for women. For us women, it's a little different, because we're women. And
Yeah.
because we're women, I am trained as a woman centered leader and coach and facilitator. But what the crux of this is that we women are different. We're made to be ashamed.
Mm.
We're made to not belong.
Yeah.
We're meant to not be heard. We are wanted for caring for others, for our attractiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we get put in this position, and when early on we may be told that we can't achieve what other people can achieve because we're women.
And yeah, and
And
let's unpack that. Not just women, but what if you add like immigrant women? Oh, you're an immigrant, right? Because we both share that piece. That's a whole another level of complexity, you know? And other labels, and whether it's you're obese, you're this, you're that, your father's this, your mother's this, who are you, right?
right. So, how do you return to your truth?
Yeah.
How do you return to your wholeness? There is a journey there. And being in a sisterhood
Yes.
and being supported by our sisters. And even in this conversation right now with the two of us, we have bonded because we have similar experiences.
Yes.
And those similar experiences normalize. Let's talk about normalizing the
Mm.
situation of what we're facing. We're not experiencing this alone.
Mm-mm.
We're not.
No.
We're on this together, and we
Yeah.
can work together to create solutions through conversations and through getting ideas from others. We have incredible intelligence in the sisterhood.
100%. It's so powerful. And as women, we need to connect and not see each other as competition, but be in this state of uplifting each other and sharing the truth, right? Not just toxic uplifting. It's like, okay, with love and connection, there can be that give and take of information to encourage, to refine, bring each other up. Because, like you mentioned, and I think about this, the career through medicine for me was extremely dehumanizing. You are a doctor. It doesn't matter if you have, like, you're raising a young family and you have no partner there, they're gone, you're got the health challenges, all those other things. They don't look at that. They just see you're a doctor. This is the expectation. There's often no grace. Now, I'm hoping things are changing in some programs, and it's really director specific. If the leadership is very open, but that's still not the norm because our statistics, like you said, 300 plus physicians, it's almost close to 400 in the US every year are dying by suicide. And not only that, I think, again, it's not research, this is my own opinion. It's not just dying by suicide, but it's also the accelerated death. We're not even looking at those numbers, right? I'm sure that number is thousands. They're dying prematurely because of all the factors that go into medicine but it also starts from their experiences as a child, those internal family systems, what happened to them, the story, that little child that whether they were nurtured or not. And many of us wasn't nurtured because guess what? Most people have never heard of it, or if they did, it was much later in life, like me. I heard about this just like within the past 8 years. I didn't know about it before, but
Mhm.
it impacted my body. Like you said, trauma, stress, you mentioned obesity, you mentioned feeling of self-doubt, all of those things. We have to come to terms with this mind, body, spirit. And the beautiful thing you mentioned was you went to get a manicure and the manicurist, they give you that massage or the oils, which feels so good. I'm going for one tomorrow. And it just reminded you to connect with the beautiful you. And that's powerful, the power of human touch, healthy touch.
I want to comment on three things that you talked about. One of them is about the fact because we have been pigeonholed into this situation of what defines us as women
Yes.
up to recent. Women have competed with each other.
Oh, yes.
I want to share with you that the more you compete, the more you lose.
Mm-hmm.
As one who has been trained in raising women, I can tell you right now, if you raise another woman, you rise yourself. It's time for women to rise.
Yeah.
It's time for women's wisdom in medicine and in other spaces. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're doing other things, it's time for women to lift the world because we're collaborators, we're the givers of life.
Yes.
And if we support someone, it's going to lift them. We need mentors, we need guides. And if somebody else is having something that you feel a little jealous about,
Mhm.
why not use them as a guide yourself?
Thank you. Exactly.
It's something they're leading you to. And I just want to say that the more that we support women, the more that you hear that a woman is doing something and you talk about it, the higher we rise. We're all connected. And if one rises, the rest rises. Remember, it's all together.
Mhm.
So that's one. The second comment I want to talk is about the concept of grace.
Mm.
And in my book, I write about different aspects of the soul and aspects of compassion. But one of them is about grace.
Mm.
And we see gracious acts around us all the time.
Yes.
We see the kindness. And I want to say that grace is like the soul and the spirit making love. And that's what I
Mm.
wrote in my book.
Nice.
And how can we give ourselves grace? How is it that when things go wrong for us, why can't we say, what have I learned from this?
Mm.
Instead of, I'm so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself grace.
Yes.
Give yourself grace. Give others grace. Everybody's functioning from the best place they can. Our parents did our best. You
Mm-hmm.
know, mine are immigrants. They had to work outside of the home. They weren't
Oh, yeah.
around to protect me or to discuss my suffering.
Yeah.
Yet they were good. They did the best they could. They took me out of Cuba. And even though things are complex in America, I'm much better off being here in America. America is a good place at the end of it all.
Yeah.
So be gracious. Be gracious with yourself. Be gracious with others. Give positive regard to have better relationships. I'm
Yeah.
married 42 years to my classmate from medical school.
Wow.
And why do you last so long? Because we talk to each other, we communicate, we have compassion for each other. And I hold them with positive regard. I don't like what he does sometimes,
Mhm.
let's be honest.
Yeah. It's normal.
But in general,
Mm.
I hold them with the highest regard as a physician and as a person.
Mm.
And we have to, if we can start looking at the goodness in people, even in our own relationships, we put out different energies to others that are not rejecting
Yeah.
those that are coming towards. We're attracting them. We're attracting them into love,
Mm.
into success, into healing, and
Mm.
into abundance.
100%.
So that's what I have to say about those.
That's beautiful. And there was something we mentioned earlier, and that was longevity. I know you mentioned that you help people live longer. And we know that one of the key things is relationship, right? Which you just alluded to that. And you and your husband 4 decades plus together, which is beautiful. What else is in that secret sauce? Like, what else is there?
The secret sauce has
Mm.
to do first with the basics.
Hmm.
You have to sleep 7 hours a night to
Yes.
clear your brain of toxicities. Just do
Mm.
that. Okay. Then move your body,
Yes.
exercise. And
Yeah.
as you get older, you got
Yes.
to do more strength training so your muscles stay strong and you
Yeah.
don't become frail and fall and fracture your hip. My husband's an orthopedic surgeon. This is big.
Ah.
So we have to take care of that. That's important. The exercise, the sleep, the correct diet. Just go with whole foods, non starchy vegetables. A Mediterranean diet works all the time.
Yeah.
All diets don't work if your mind is not aligned to your body.
I understand.
So you have to practice mindfulness meditation and address your stress.
Hmm.
And there's many ways to address your stress, but address your stress. Understand your body, understand your digestive system, understand the bacteria. The food you put in your mouth makes a difference as to the bacteria you have. The bacteria you have decide whether you're going to gain weight or not.
100%.
That's incredible. But we can regulate that ourselves. That's amazing. Okay. And then the other thing is that hormones are important. We women lose hormones evolutionarily at the wrong time, but we
Hmm.
have to because that's how the universe made us. That doesn't mean that we can't continue hormones if we can.
Mm.
That I'm really into replacing hormones for women and to supporting them because if you lose your hormones, then you lose synaptogenesis in the brain. You
Mm.
lose connections in the brain. Your body has a higher risk of diabetes, has a higher risk of heart disease because estrogen is an antioxidant. It
Mm.
deals with oxidative stress. And
Mm.
once you lose estrogen, the whole body senses it and the metabolism changes. So if you can have hormones in menopause and perimenopause, have a discussion. Doctors don't talk to you about that.
Mm.
You have to. You have to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
And of course, if there's breast cancer and other contraindications, then not. If you haven't had hormones for more than 10 or 15 years, then there's other approaches. But you got to work harder if you're not getting hormones. Okay, so you
Yeah.
have to do all of the other ones better. And then there's supplements that improve things, of course. That is another conversation entirely.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Relationships, sleep, whole foods. I say eat a rainbow, you know, just so many great things and hormones. I think in the past as humans, we didn't live this long. So by, 50, that's like you're like ancient, if you were 50 back in the day. Now it's like life's just cooking, like there's so much. And there's so many vibrant women in their 70s and 80s and 90s and even some hundreds. You see them like lifting weights in the gym, doing marathons, going to school, graduating. Like I passed 100. Like that's my goal. And with my wits and being able to clean,
Right.
being able to clean myself, do everything, and still have friends and family around me. Life is beautiful and I want to explore it and live it to the full. So when that time comes, when it's time to breathe my last, I'm ready and I'm almost like embracing it because I want to see the people that matter to me who have gone. Like I'm ready. But yeah, live. It's inevitable. They say death and taxes. I don't know. It's coming. My God.
My grandmother lived until she was 101,
Wow.
and she was bicycling until the month before she died. And then she decided, I think I'm too tired. And she laid down
Oh,
and
and
was gone within 3 weeks.
that's
And we could not
sweet.
understand.
Because she laid
You
down.
know,
She
she
stopped.
was so funny. She always ate well, and she always had lipstick on and high
Okay.
heels because we Cuban women
Hmm.
wear lipstick. Oh, I'm not showing my lipstick. Well,
Oh, I see.
I and high heels. That's how you show up with the heels. That's the cachet that we have as Cuban sexy women. That's how it's done.
Yes, that's
So you carry that until the end. She did. She did.
oh, that's beautiful. 101. Very nice. Well, I pray you reach that and more because you can do it. You know more than she even knew in some regards.
That
We have access to
that's
more supplements to help one, right? We have access
right.
to a lot of things, but just live with
The
joy.
important Right, but the important thing for people to understand is that there's three things that make us depend on others.
Mm.
Losing your mind, losing your vision, and losing your mobility.
Yes.
All three are affected by inflammation and poor diet.
Mm.
You can change. You can be biologically younger even though your age is different than your
Yeah,
biology.
of course.
Chronology versus biology.
Yes.
And the better you take care of yourself, the less macular degeneration, even though you have a potentiality for having that, the less likely that you manifest Alzheimer's disease if you
Yes.
have a gene for that.
Yeah.
So that there's a lot of things that we can do. And the sooner we start, the better. More plant-based diet is better than meatful diets. So making a shift, start with meatless Monday.
Hmm.
Try that. Have beans instead. They're delicious. I'm a Cuban. Black beans are fantastic.
I'm not Cuban, but
Consider the
I got them in my pantry, like going out of style. Yeah.
So yeah, we got to think about alternatives, but the sooner you start, the better,
Yes.
and the better it'll be. And also remember, you're a guide. Whatever you do is being watched by others
Oh, that's
younger than you, your children and your friends, and
yes.
they're watching you. And sometimes they may not like that you're doing so well. On the other hand, you inspire them. So they
Yeah.
keep changing, wanting to be.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, I have two princesses. Mine are little. Yeah, they're watching. And you're right. People are watching us. They may be inspired by the change, even though they may not acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like empower her. Come on, you guys. If you someone inspires you, that jealousy, that green little thing, what is it telling you? What can you do differently? Choices. It's beautiful. Anyway, this has been a brilliant conversation. It's definitely more than what I anticipated for as far as the content we're able to cover and just the conversations we had. And I really appreciate you being so open and sharing your stories and lived experiences and still going strong. And I love that. And those 3 points at the end, I appreciate those. The vision, mobility, and then the mind. That's very important. And inflammation, chronic disease, diabetes, cancer, all connected. Like, oh, if people just know that they're just eating truckloads of poison half the time, it would just whew, change, educate. Hopefully,
You
people.
know that I wanted to tell you, I'm the chairwoman for the Nutrition Committee for the American Medical Women's Association.
Yes,
And one of our big drives is about food as medicine.
yes, I say that in my practice, and laughter is medicine too. But yeah, Food is medicine.
Yeah, yeah. The more that we can promote this, that in fact our bacteria in the intestines are actually our internal pharmacy for healing.
Mm-hmm.
So that if the good food gets to the good bacteria and enough fiber in there and you get the right stuff, you get the right outcome. Things
Mm-hmm.
talk. Your brain
Yeah.
stops being sad. The gut regulates how sad you are. Imagine that.
Yeah.
It's telling the brain things are not good. There's lots to do in that space. I have a best-selling book called Mind Body Secrets. It's an Amazon, and it takes you through a journey of understanding your mind, understanding your body, and then understanding your relationships with others, your inner family system,
Mm.
the outside family system, and to connect with spirit. Spirit is important because it allows us to ask the questions of why are we here? What
Yeah.
matters to us?
Yeah.
And I think that this book would help a lot of people. It has helped a lot of people already. And it's coming out in Audible probably in the next month. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited about to share it with all.
Definitely. And when the link comes out, we will put it out. And I'm pretty sure this episode will come out after the link, after your book is out on Audible. So that would be helpful. So people don't have to wait. Well, and if our listeners wanted to be coached by you or to hear more or maybe have you speak, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, there's two ways. I'm in LinkedIn, and I think I gave you the link, Dr.
Yes.
Tommy,
Yes.
and Dr. Beatriz Olson. And
Yes.
also my website is Beatriz with a Z because I'm a Cuban. Beatriz Olson, Olson, BATRICOLSON.com. And there you can find out about my work. And I have different options for people, different levels of engagement from free materials
Hmm.
to then more intense involvement with me. And then there's courses that you can take. There's courses that you can engage with at integrativebeing.org. And every year in the fall, I offer a course for women in medicine, women in healthcare,
Mm.
that teaches mind body skill through a case based approach. It teaches mindfulness and also women empowerment. And I'll post that. It'll be October, November, and December. And it's for women in healthcare.
Love it. And is it being in person?
Yes, well, we give credits through the University of Arizona, CME. So
Oh.
it's going to be a hybrid that there's a curriculum and videos, and then we get together for more in-depth discussion with our learners. We're
That's
all learners. It's
Oh, I'm a
beautiful.
lifelong learner. I'm constantly enrolled in some program too. Awesome. I love it. Okay, well, listeners, thanks again for sharing the most precious resource you have, and that is your time. I don't take it for granted. And feel free to like, share, comment with your friends and family, as this is a message of empowerment to help uplift each other and promote positive change and ultimately transformation. Till next time, this is your host, Dr. Tomi Mitchell, and the lovely Dr. Olson from the Mental Health and Wellness Show. Thank you, everyone. Bye.